Hi, my name is Jerry Moore. I am starting a channel for myself, and uh, I just want to start out with my first video here. And first of all, what I promised myself to do, because I started and stopped this so many times where I would maybe get one or two words out and thought it didn't sound right, and I would stop it and start over again. So I made a commitment to myself that once I hit the record button, that I wasn't going to go back. So that's what I'm doing. So bear with me. This is my first one, I hope, of many. I want to, in a very truthful way, kind of share a lot or a lot of what's gone on in my life for me, and do this in a very truthful way. So I have no notes. So if I repeat myself or anything like that, it's, I'm just kind of winging it at this point, and hopefully I get better at it as uh, time goes on. So my wish is, through the journey thus far, there's been a lot, as you will learn and find out. And I've got a lot to share. Some of it shocking, some of it motivating, some of it perhaps sad, happy, certainly. I've had a lot of wonderful, wonderful events occur in my life, wonderful, wonderful people in my life, not so wonderful people, and probably people who know me well are going to be maybe a little bit shocked as to, some of the events that's occurred in my life to bring me to where I am here today. So I kind of started out writing, probably reversed, but my thoughts thus far, I don't know at this point if I want to call it a book, a manuscript, a memoir, an autobiography, I don't know. So I'm just going to start reading this, and I'll comment as I go. I think that's the best way for me to start this. So I just, for now, entitled it just plain Me. And, obviously that title is a work in progress. So anyway, it's Me by Jerry Moore. So where do I start? From the beginning. It's as good a place as any. Okay, from the day I was born till about 3 years old, are pretty vague. I'll have to rely on what I've been told. I was born in the spring of 1966, the fourth of 5 children. I guess life was pretty normal for a newborn living in the mid-60s. As mentioned earlier, I'll try to tell it as I heard it. Shortly after my birth, my younger brother was born. I didn't mention that makes 5 kids in 7 years. 3 girls, then 2 boys. Life seemed pretty normal. Dad was a school teacher and coached 3 sports. He wasn't around much during the non-summer months. Mom was a nurse on and off and worked mostly nights. I never realized this because she was working while everyone was sleeping. I can appreciate now what she must have gone through. No wonder she's a crazy lady, and more on that later. Let's see here. Now, I am reading this exactly how I wrote it, so if it's not grammatically correct, but I want to read it verbatim, and because I think that's important. Anyway, I'm going to take a leap forward to perhaps the most traumatic, significant, and least talked about event in my family's life, especially my life. It was on a Sunday morning. My sisters were watching I Dream of Jeannie in the basement. My parents were sleeping, and I was up to mischief with my very young brother in tow. Both my parents smoked. I was 5 years old and loved to play with matches. I remember watching my dad light up a cig. A 5-year-old boy and his 3-year-old brother on their own with a book of matches, you can only imagine what could happen. Well, it did happen. I took the matches in our bedroom closet and was burning some toys. Actually, it was a little, I don't know if anybody remembers, a little wooden Fisher Price figures that they were kind of the round heads. And anyway, um, I was burning some of the toys in our bedroom closet. Suddenly, some clothes caught on fire. I remember watching the blaze shoot out of the closet. I screamed and woke up my parents. Thankfully, we all got out safely, even the dog. We were safely in the neighbor's living room with the sound of sirens while our house was burning down. My mom's next reaction was to first scream at me, then beat me, then almost hug the life out of me. My actions, which led to the house fire, are still very fresh in my mind. It's very strange because I don't really know how to feel about it. The only mention of the fire was used as a point of reference. Family events were either before the fire or after the fire. Someone might ask, hey, do you remember that time we all went to the park and it was so hot? Oh yeah, that was before the fire. Or, you remember that Christmas when we got 18 inches of snow? Yeah, that was after the fire. My part of causing the fire was never discussed. I vaguely remember how it was while the house was being rebuilt. Living in rented homes, being split up between friends and relatives, and somehow it seemed to me a smooth process. As I said earlier, I'm not sure how all this affected me growing up. It was more of a thing rather than an event. Sometimes I wish I had the opportunity to be able to deal with the fact that I was responsible for burning down my family home. As I've gotten older, I've wondered how all this might have affected my brother. He could be quite stoic about his feelings. I guess the whole point of this is to try to explain my behavior. I know we all have skeletons in our closets, done things we keep guarded in our own minds. The thought of anyone finding out our hidden secrets is terrifying. Now, I don't know if everybody feels this way. Most people feel this way. Few people feel this way, or I don't know. So, I know how I felt. What would happen if everyone's demons, for lack of a better term, would have come out? Well, I'm going to give it a shot. As I write, I'll decide how brave I'm willing to be. My initial feelings are I'm going to shock the shit out of anyone who reads this, or hears it in this case. It would be quite ironic if I didn't surprise anyone that I kept all this crap bottled up inside for nothing. This is going to be difficult. It's one thing to describe how I feel about myself. It's quite another to describe how I think others feel about me. The way people reacted to me and how it appeared they felt and I was making them feel is completely different from what I was feeling inside my own head. I would be constantly trying to figure out how others thought I should act, react, and behave in situations on an ongoing basis. And again, I don't know if most people have this going on in their head or whatever. Okay, I don't know if people tend to, think this way. I guess, anyway, let me go on. From a very young age, I felt very judged. Always wondering if what I was thinking and doing was right or wrong. I had a very clever way to cope with this. It's really quite simple. Just get everyone I know and meet to like me, and then they can't judge me. That seemed to work out great. The only problem with this approach is that you're slowly selling your soul to the devil. What do I mean by that? Let me try to explain. When you're constantly seeking the approval and validation of everyone, and I mean everyone, it feels like you've got a 10,000 piece puzzle in your brain with dim lighting. To make matters worse, almost everyone you deal with is a separate puzzle and the pieces get all mixed up. But But none of that matters as long as everyone likes you. The result, if they like you, they're probably not going to judge you. If you don't feel like you're being judged, you can start putting the pieces together in your head. I can remember feeling this way back in elementary school. I was extremely insecure. I did everything I could to win people over. I was nice to everyone. It worked because I was popular with the teachers and students. The only problem was when I was faced with a fight, freeze, or flee situation, I hardly ever fought back. There was one incident in 8th grade, I think, where an asshole student antagonized me for 2 years. I should have dealt with him much sooner. He went too far in math class and punched me in the left cheek. I ended up breaking his nose and splitting his lip. True story. There was an earlier incident as well, where I was very young, probably around 6 or 7 years old. I used to run home crying to my mother because a little bastard next door would hit me. Well, she had enough of that. If I remember correctly, her words to me were, "Oh, don't mind the cuckoo clock." That's another story, the cuckoo clock. I'll get into that some other time. But if I remember correctly, her words to me were, "If you don't go out there and beat the shit out of that little prick, I'm going to beat your ass myself." So I pulled a Sid Fargus on him and gave him a beating. Now, anybody who knows your mom, that doesn't surprise you at all. Or my mom, rather. That doesn't surprise you at all. I'm going to let the cuckoo clock finish. Good. So I guess I've always had it in me to defend myself. Here's the problem, though. There were many, many times where I should have stood my ground. I chose to negotiate my way through conflict with others. This usually resulted in me surrendering my point of view, meeting in the middle, or just walking away. Not a very good strategy if you want to be successful and not just get by. So this is how I was navigating through life. A charming, agreeable personality with a vulgar sense of humor, and this is when I was much younger. I would intentionally make a fool out of myself to get people to like me. It caused some to distance themselves. This was the point. I can now deal with all the losers and not the winners. So I want to clarify that when I say I can now deal with all the losers and not the winners. And this is not to insult anybody who I know and I'm friends with. Just because I'm now friends with you, it doesn't mean I considered you a loser at one point. What this was is it was more of me trying to distance myself from people I feared judgment, and or people who that I felt that I wouldn't be accepted in their circle for whatever reason, and that was sort of like my defense mechanism from being judged. And if I can act like an idiot, and then people were still willing to keep engaging, then I sort of found the people who accept me. And then if people stepped away from me, or for whatever reason, I mean, it could have been anything I did or said. It just could have been because somebody had something else to do, and I took that as a reflection of that. They weren't stepping away from anything particular. They were stepping away from me, and that's the way it was. So there's quite a bit more here. I'm gonna read just a little bit more, and then kind of talk about it a little bit more. So anyway, so now on to the high school years. This is where I really need to be brave if I'm going to tell all. I do need to go back in time. I'm sure my siblings would agree we grew up in a very dysfunctional household. I cannot and will not speak for them. What I will say is we were very good at creating the illusion we were the perfect family. Some describe this as the Brady Bunch. Again, I am speaking completely on my own based on my experiences. I remember the new house after the fire. We lived in that house until 1980 when we moved to Massapequa. It was in August. The following month, I would be starting high school in a completely new district where I knew no one. I remember clearly walking into Massapequa High School the very first time. All I had was a small sheet of paper with my schedule on it. I was probably the first student because my dad dropped me off on his way to work. He taught at the other high school in the district. And that Berna High School, that's no longer a high school. It's a middle school now, but there were two high schools at that time. Anyway, I found my homeroom class. I had no idea what to do next. I just stood outside the doorway and waited. What appeared to be a teacher walked by and asked, "Are you substituting for Mr. So-and-so?" Now, mind you, I was only in ninth grade, which made me around 15 years old. I told her I was a student. Shockingly, all she could say is, "Oh," and keep walking. As of this writing, this was about 42 years ago. I wouldn't expect to recall details, but I do remember how I felt. I remember not feeling like I fit in with anyone, so I tried to fit in with everyone. Every decision, choice, friend I made was because I thought someone else felt I should make it. I did just enough to make sure everyone liked me. I protected my insecurities. What would people think? What would people think if they actually knew what was going on inside my head? I hated myself. I looked at other people and wished I could be just like them. All the while, I'm sure there were others who wished they could be more like me. You see, I was really good at faking it. Almost everyone liked me because I did everything I could to make sure they did. This wasn't so easy. Gaining and maintaining everyone's approval isn't so easy. It's exhausting trying to keep up. I always had to remember how I was supposed to act around different people in order to maintain the illusion I was creating. The worst thing that could have happened was anybody knowing what was actually going on. The crap I had to navigate through every waking moment. I was not taught the skills as a boy to face adversity. I'm trying to explain what I mean. I realize kids tease and can be very cruel toward one another. That alone is a lot to deal with. As a child, I was much bigger than the other kids. When I was playing with children my age, there was always more expected of me. When I was 5, I looked like I was 10. I was acting much younger than I looked. My behavior would be corrected. I wasn't acting different than my age. You may ask, how could I remember this? Well, it's easy. I've just never forgotten it. Also, I was relentlessly picked on by adults and kids older than me, even relatives. I'm going to stop there because the next part of this is probably for some people going to be really, really shocking. And I don't want to get into it right now. I do want to comment on what I've read so far. And when I say that I was relentlessly picked on, then by adults and kids, it was mainly by kids older than me. Because let's say I'm 10 years old, I look like I'm 15. Okay, the other 10-year-olds looked up to me as if I was 15 years old. And they, looking back now, they probably in a way, I don't want to use the word idolize me, but, maybe looked at me as, an older kid. But I had the mind of a 10-year-old. And when I acted like a 10-year-old, uh, perhaps the older kids and adults looked at me as somebody who was very, very immature. And again, this was also relatives. And dare I say, aunts, uncles, cousins, and probably not realizing they were doing it. But it was also very uh, self-inflicted because it was difficult for me to figure out where I fit in, how I'm supposed to behave. So I just didn't know how to act. So I probably acted like an idiot a lot of the times, and brought the attention on myself. And it was a tough thing. When I start reading the next part of this, um, people who know me well, and it's going to be a tough read. So just to get into a little bit more of why I'm here now, for reasons I will get into, I was going to therapy, and I saw a couple therapists, but I'm going to focus most on the last therapist I saw. And she helped me realize a lot of what was going on. And it was specifically a book that she recommended I read. So, but she had said to me when I was probably about 3 or 4 sessions, or maybe more, I don't remember. But anyway, I was seeing her for a little bit, and she asked me if I had ever considered becoming a therapist. Now, when she said this, I was in my mid-50s with my high school education and not planning on going to college. So I said, no, I never really thought of becoming a therapist. And she said to me, well, you can help a lot of people. You can do something like life coaching where, you don't need any specific education for that. And something like that. So it took me a little while, and I thought of it, and that was the seed that she planted. So I reached out to a couple people, to see if I can get some guidance in that respect. And I did get some advice from a friend who's pretty successful in business and finance. And that was the first step in my journey where he had told me to get something that's called a DBA, which I had never heard of, doing business as. And so I investigated it. I went to LegalZoom. Well, first, I went to the my county clerk and try to find out how to do that. They sent me the forms. When I asked them how I fill out the forms, they said they're not, by law, give me advice because that would be considered legal advice. I need to either get an attorney or something like that. So with limited funds and having no idea what I was doing, I looked at LegalZoom and investigated a little bit and invested the money, and I got my DBA, Reassurance lifecoaching.com. And the name Reassurance was another, sort of me kind of, I don't know, brainstorming or figuring out what's the best name. And I actually tried Assurance first, and that wasn't available because I think Assurance is used in a couple different industries, I guess. And so Reassurance came up, reassurancelifecoaching.com. So I grabbed it. And now my next step was to I guess, build a website. And I'm doing all this in the blind because I tried to reach out for some people, and and some did help, and some people said they would help, and then but I realized I have to do trial and error. So I built the website reassurancalifecoaching.com, and if you look at that website, I'm very proud of it. I don't know if it's perfect. I don't know what you'll think about it, but it's mine, and I built it, and I'm proud of it, and I'm excited about it. And so my motivation here is to just share my story, stuff that I've gone through, that I know I can help a lot of people. And I'm by no means not a therapist. If you have anything going on, like mental illnesses or depression, clinical depression, suicidal thoughts, anything like that, please get help. I've been in a position, very tough positions and I will get into, where I didn't feel it was worth it anymore. And so I have been there. Please, I pray that you talk to somebody, get help, because I'm going to try to, do my best by telling my truth to just, see where it goes. But I'm excited about it. I did not think I was going to be able to do this. I'm looking at the timer and it says 26 minutes and 27 minutes. And I think it went well. So I am going to now upload this, and I'm going to try to do new content once a week and see where this goes. I got a little bit more to read in this, and I will be adding to it. But I'm going to keep it under 30 minutes here, and I'm approaching 27 and a half minutes. So I'm going to end it here. I am reassurancelifecoaching.com. Actually, here we go. Reassurancelifecoaching.com. There's my card. I know everything's backwards. I don't know how to fix all that. So anyway, I designed the card myself too. Also proud of that. And it's it's just something I'm really excited about. I talk to people, and they seem to be very responsive and to what I'm doing. And so we'll see. All right, I don't want to get boring. I feel like I'm getting boring. So I'm going to end it here. God bless. And the possibilities are endless. So let's do it together. Thank you so much. And I hope a lot of this made sense. And we'll take it from there. Okay. Thank you.